Welcome to Gleaning and Gathering. I'm your host, Eric Heimlich. I'm the only one in the building today. I am sharing with you just some of my thoughts, what's going on right now in our lives. This past few months, I have been working at Heartland Christian School, primarily serving in the area of development. And the work of development really is just building real relationships with people, helping them to see what God is doing in the place where you're at, and then challenging them to do what only they can do. And very thankful for the work that God has enabled us to do and just the amazing team that he's building there at Heartland. There's just some really great things going on there, and I'm just so grateful for it. It's been a challenging season in that everything that has been for the past few years is different. When you're, for 20 years, the city ministry guy, and then now you're no longer that, there's a certain degree of loss that comes with that. It's, who am I now? That's what I was doing, but who am I? And so there's been some challenges along the way, just in terms of trying to navigate the financial aspect, the relational aspect, and just the emotional and spiritual. But God's been faithful, and I'm very grateful for my family that has worked with me and helped me through those rough places along the way. One of the things that I'm most excited about, and that I really wanted to focus on 2 years ago when we first stepped down as urban ministry director at Evangelistic Faith Missions, is the Nehemiah Discipleship Program. About 5 years ago, when I was driving home from Detroit, Kaylin and I were having a conversation. And in that conversation, she asked me, what do you think is the most important thing you could do in the next 5 years of your life? And I said, well, I think pour into young leaders, really help them to develop and learn the lessons that God has been teaching me along this same journey. And she said, I think that's great. I think that's what you should do. So how are we going to make that happen? And what came out of that was the Nehemiah Discipleship Program. And I've shared some of that story here on the podcast before, but over the past, I guess it's 6 years now, we've been able to serve over 120 different young people that have come through the program. And we have a leadership training program that's part of that. And I'm just super excited about what God has been doing in that already and the doors that he's opening up with that. You know, the vision that I could see happening as a result of this is having leaders that could be working missionally in other places, taking the same kind of training to places across the United States, working in a small church, helping them to develop the young people where they are, but also maybe even eventually taking that internationally. And I don't know what all doors God may open up eventually, but it is exciting to work with my family. First of all, Kaylin, Rebecca, Sarah, Samuel, Esther are all part of the work that God has been doing in the Nehemiah Discipleship Program. And Carissa, I'm sure, is coming right up behind them. And when she's old enough, then I'm sure she's going to be part of that as well. And of course, I couldn't do it without Rochelle. She's an amazing wife and a wonderful helpmeet. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity that God's given us to work together as a family. This past evening, we have Bible study here at our house. And afterward, there's just the lingering, people that are staying, talking, fellowshipping, just being together. And it's just such a beautiful part of our week and a part of what really makes our life here at Victory Acres just so special. Every Sunday, we meet as a gathering family for service in the morning, and then we share lunch together. And then after that, generally, either we have a time of fellowship, sometimes we have a Singspiration in the afternoon, sometimes we have another shorter service where we talk over and share from the morning message. And then sometimes, like we did last week, we have a ministry meeting where we're talking about our life together, what's coming up, what are we working on, what are the things that God's calling us to. But I just love the family style relational aspect of that and the way that we get to be part of that. And that's really the way that I feel about it. And the Nehemiah Discipleship Program really is an outgrowth of that life together as a congregation, as a local body of believers. When we began, there were a lot of young people that were really informative years and thinking about how could we pour into them, the home team, in a way that would really impact them and help them on their journey. And so as we begin to develop that, that was really at the forefront of our mind. Even if it's just for our own young people, this is worth doing. We opened it up to others. Others joined in, and it's become a thing that has blessed a lot of young people from a lot of different places, a lot of different backgrounds. But I'm excited to see what God is going to do this year. Our theme is resilient. Our scripture passage that we're going to be looking at is Hebrews chapters 11 and 12, and focusing in specifically on Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, and just the idea of laying aside every weight and the sin that so easily besets us, and running with patience, with endurance, the race that's set before us. One of my favorite books, and really one of my favorite authors, is Gordon MacDonald. And his book, A Resilient Life, is really a picture of what we're trying to get across to the young people this year. And I'm hopeful that we can. If you haven't read that book, I encourage you to go out, get it, read it, and chew on it. It's one of those books that I've come back to many times, and it's a book that I've shared with lots and lots of friends. Good books are like good friends. They're meant to be shared. But part of the message that's in there is the subtitle of the book. You can move ahead no matter what. And I want to encourage you, whatever you're dealing with right now, and there are some of you that may be caught right now in secret sin. You're not quite sure what to do about it. You're not sure who to reach out to. Some of you may be caught in a situation financially, and you're not sure what to do about it, how to get out of it. Whatever the difficulty that you're facing right now, I just want to encourage you. There is a way forward. You can move ahead no matter what. Gordon MacDonald's life is inspiring to me. He wrote the book most people probably have read, Ordering Your Private World, and then Moral Failure. His world fell apart. But the book that really speaks to me the most is this book, probably written in the latter years of his life, A Resilient Life. The challenges that you're going to face if you're in leadership very long at all are incredibly, incredibly daunting. And as I sit with leaders and I talk with leaders, the challenges that they're facing are multifaceted. And I so identify with them. It's not just the challenges of their organization and the people that they're dealing with there and trying to, keep all the ducks in rows, but it's also the financial pressures. Financial pressures of the organization, financial pressures personally, and then there's the raising children. And if you're a father with a family, there's constant things that need to be attended to there. And then there's the constant demands on your time from all the people who love you and have a wonderful plan for your life, It's never ending. And when you're trying to juggle all of that, it can get very heavy. And you reach a point where you wonder, is this really worth it? And if you're out there and you've been in leadership, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people think that, leadership's all about just getting to be on the stage and be the guy behind the microphone. But that's probably the smallest piece of the puzzle, really. You may have to have gifts of communication to lead at certain levels, but the real challenge is, can you influence people? And then can you have systems in place in your own life that will hold you steady when everything else around you is just changing and uncertain, and people are looking at you and saying, what are we going to do? What's the answer here? And having the kind of resilience that Gordon MacDonald talks about in this book is just so incredibly important. I'm just going to share a little bit from the chapters of the book. The whole book is amazing, but the chapters, resilient people are committed to finishing strong. Chapter 1 is quitting is not an option. Building resilience is a daily pursuit. It's easy to start. The question is, are you going to finish strong? And I don't know about you, but I want to be the guy who at 75 is still pushing forward, not just barely crossing the finish line, but I'm doing it finishing strong. I've seen leaders like that. I want to be like that when I grow up. Resilient people run inspired by a big picture view of life. One of the chapters is on resilient people have a sense of life direction. I've been challenging some of the leaders that I'm working with recently to complete a life plan. I recently reworked mine, went over that, and I sat a couple weeks ago and wrote my eulogy. It was sobering, but if I died right now and the people that know me best were talking, what would they say about me? If they were just talking honestly, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I wrote it out and shared it with my family. They cried, which I was glad they did. I was glad they didn't laugh and clap, but at the end of it, one of them asked me, "Is that really the way you see yourself?" And it is. And there's things about myself that I'm probably maybe harder on myself than others would be. And they probably wouldn't say those things. But I don't want my current position to be the way that I finish. And so I'm beginning to try to put some things in place and work on some things that are moving me in a direction, a more positive direction, a direction that I want to go. But there are some people that spend more time planning a vacation than they spend planning their life. Resilient people have a sense of life direction. This is where I'm going. Resilient people foresee the great questions of life's passage. He asks some amazing questions in this book. He talks about how there are different questions in different seasons of life. Resilient people cultivate Christian character. They listen for a call from God. They're confident in their giftedness, and they live generous lives. Again, living with the big picture view of life. And then resilient people run free of the weight of the past. Probably one of the most impactful books that I read in the last 5 years is Pete Scazzara's book, The Emotional Healthy Leader. Again, another book that I highly recommend, but he talks in there about the shadow, and everybody has one. It's the broken places, the accumulation of broken places in your life. They're there that haven't been addressed. So there's the public image, and then there's the shadow. But resilient people understand the importance of repairing the past. There have been a few things recently that God's been working on me in, and going back and making some of those broken relationships right, working through some of those things has been an important part of my journey. I haven't arrived yet, but I'm endeavoring to make sure that as much as lies within me, I live peaceably with all men. Resilient people respect the power of memory. They practice repentance, which, by the way, I think is important, even if you are someone who believes that we don't sin every day in word, thought, and deed. Are you willing to back up and say, "I'm sorry"? They're quick to forgive. They overflow with gratitude. Resilient people squeeze the past for all its wisdom. 20 years ago this week, that my grandpa went home to heaven. And I was just thinking about it this morning. In fact, I was trying to find the exact date, and I was looking back. I knew it was March of 2006. If he would have lived, this would be his 100th birthday month. He was born on Easter Sunday. He was an amazing man. And as I look back and I think about the heritage that's been passed down to me, I am so incredibly grateful for those memories. And finding that wisdom and remembering it is an important part of resilience in terms of moving forward. I want to encourage you to squeeze your past for all of its wisdom. It's there, and you need to remember it. He also says resilient people train to go the distance. They prepare themselves for the emergencies of life. Resilient people know exactly what has to be accomplished. They keep themselves physically fit. And by the way, huge shout out to all those that are doing the work, the hard work of stewarding your body well. I know that there's a ton of jokes that are out there of preachers who are overweight. But guys, if you're in ministry, please do yourself and everyone else in your congregation a favor and do something to keep your body in shape. It is a terrible, terrible witness to preach against the sins of all manner of other things and give in to your flesh in this area of physical appetites and just allow your body to go to, whatever you want to call it. Don't do it. Keep yourself physically fit. I'm fighting the battle like all the rest of us. I'm not always doing it perfectly, but I am so incredibly grateful that I started the journey a couple of years ago to get healthier. It has been a huge help to me in many, many different areas of my life. Resilient people grow their minds. What are you reading? What are you thinking about? There's room in your life to read. Pretty much the question that I ask every leader that I meet is, what are you reading these days? What are you growing your mind with? The latest book that I'm working on is Made to Stick. Just finished the 2-day CEO, and I'm feeding books to all the guys that I am endeavoring to walk the road with and encouraging them to grow their minds. They harness their emotions. They trim their egos. They open their hearts to the presence of God. As I was spending time this morning in the prayer chapel here at Victory Acres, I was just so incredibly grateful for that place and for God's presence in that place, meeting me there in the early morning. The final section of the book is Resilient People Run in the Company of a Happy Few. He talks about the value of lingering, having a group that you just enjoy being with and just lingering. And then the peril of the solitary life. There are a lot of people as leaders who say it's lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. And if it is, you're climbing the wrong ladder. Had 12 friends. He had the 3. He had the 1. He was not living a solitary life. And as his disciples, we shouldn't be either. He talks a little bit about how friendship works and where there are certain people. I love the quote, had it on my wall for quite a while. There are certain people who enable us to be as we have never been before. I think we need that happy few, that company that we share life with at a deep level. It's never going to be a big number. It can't be. But I encourage you to be the kind of person that has that kind of life, that run in the company of the happy few. Shout out to my friend, Dave Spivey. Pretty much every Thursday morning, we are meeting, sharing together what's going on in our life, talking, praying, and for going on 3 years now, we've prioritized that, and it's been a blessing. Having those Barnabas moments. I'm not coaching him. He's not coaching me. We're just together as brothers, sharing heart to heart, and it's been a mutual blessing. There are Timothys in my life, people that I'm pouring into at that level. I'm thankful for the Paul figures that I have in my life that are pouring into me. But we also need that band of the happy few, those that we are in that kind of shoulder-to-shoulder relationship with. A group of senior pastors was surveyed recently. I heard the number that over 80% in that group said that they don't have anyone that they can really be open and honest with. Not only is that incredibly sad, it's incredibly dangerous. If you're in that spot, I want to encourage you, don't stay in that spot. We need guys that are developing a resilient life, that are laying aside the weight, the sin that so easily besets us, and that are running with endurance the race that's set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, seeing him as our example. I just wanted to share that with you this morning from my heart. Again, gleaning and gathering is just where I sit and talk about whatever I jolly well please. And if you don't want to listen, you're not alone. There are lots of people that aren't listening. But if you are listening, I want you to know I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the group of people that have continued to listen and those that hopefully have gleaned something from my gleanings, and it has influenced you in a direction that hopefully has drawn you closer to God and is helping you to become more of the person that God wants you to be. Thanks for taking time for gleaning and gathering. God bless.